Hello friends and welcome to today's class. Let's get started lying down on our backs. So finding a comfortable position with knees bent, feet firmly planted on the ground in front of your hips. Maybe bringing your hands onto your belly or chest. And take a few moments to just come into this space. If you'd like to close your eyes, that's fine. If you do not want to do that, that's okay too. But maybe just blur your vision. So kind of just taking a step back and letting everything become soft, not focusing on anything in particular. Maybe your eyes are half closed. And beginning to notice your breath, not changing or doing anything to it. Just noticing, maybe noticing how it feels as your belly rises and falls. And now, beginning to lengthen and engage the breath. So making the inhales and exhales just a little bit longer, beginning to cultivate ujjayi pranayama, that ocean breathing. And the easiest way to do that, to cultivate ujjayi breathing, is to imagine that there's a mirror or a window and we're fogging up the mirror with our breath. So breathing in completely and then fogging up the mirror. Noticing that sound, that ha sound. So using ujjayi breath helps us to concentrate and keep ourselves focused and centered on the breath itself. If it's comfortable for you, continue to use ujjayi. Maybe see if now you can close or seal the lips and continue to make that same sound by slightly constricting the back of the throat. So again, pretending that you're fogging up the mirror. And maybe then, if you would like to try, making that same audible sound of ujjayi breathing with the inhale and exhalation. So making that sound by constricting just a little bit, this helps us to slow down the breath and to breathe slowly and evenly. So find whatever, any variation of ujjayi breathing that's most comfortable for you. Begin to tune into the rhythm and length of that breath. So finding your version of ujjayi breathing and then making your inhalations and exhalations the same length. So not holding it for too long, but just a little bit of an increase in length in the inhalation and exhalation, more so than we would just naturally breathing. So now that we have our breath ready to go, we'll check in again on our breathing as we continue to move through our practice. But let's begin to move towards our core engagement. So what I'd like for you to do is just pick your toes or your feet up off the ground just a little bit. Maybe you can even bring your feet so that your shins are parallel to the floor, so your knees are at a 90-degree angle. And notice what happens when you do this. So if you need to keep your feet down here, that's fine too. Go ahead, bring them back down a second. So keeping your hands, maybe one hand on your hip crease and one hand on the low belly. Go ahead and lift the toes. So you feel how your lower abdominals turned on, just with that movement of our legs. So as we lift our legs, our shins, our lower belly and our navel pulls down towards the earth, pulls back towards our spine. So this is the core engagement that we want to practice and hold on to throughout our yoga practice. So go ahead, pull the belly in, and if at any time you're noticing that your ujjayi or whatever breathing you're using is becoming ragged or you can't hold on to it, that means that we're pushing too hard. So when we engage the lower belly or when we make a movement, we want that to be at about 40%. Maybe even 30%. So not anything that's going to let us lose our breath. We want to hold on to our ujjayi breath. Okay, so lower hands on belly, lower the feet back down. All right, so we are going to bring our knees towards our chest. If you like, you can bring your hands around them to give yourself a little bit of a pull. Remembering to keep that lower belly engaged. And then just very playfully, we're going to rock back and forth a little bit. Eventually we're going to come all the way up to seated. Just beginning to massage our spine a little bit here. Not all yoga is graceful. So if you need to use your hands to get yourself seated, that's fine too. All right, so now we're going to get up into a tall seated position. And you can do that by just crossing your ankles. If your hips, this is what we're focusing on. We want to be able to sit our belly, our lower core. Remember, we want that engaged and pulled back towards our spine. So we want plenty of room in the front of our body. So if your hips are, if it's hard for you to make that type of shape with your body, you might need to prop yourself up on a block. And in order to do that, you can just slip one under your sit bones. Maybe you still feel like you're a little bit hunched over. You can add another block. So these are just a few variations of easy seat Sukhasana. If neither of these are comfortable for you, you can also come to hero's pose. So that would be just bringing our knees and feet together and sitting our hips back. If that's not comfortable, we could use a block, bringing our feet and knees apart just enough to slide a block through and then sitting back. So we want as least amount of pressure on the knees as possible. So maybe we need 2 blocks, 3, 4. So make this yours. I'm going to use 1 block here. All right. So if you've lost the breath, maybe coming back to that, gently reminding yourself. So we're going to start to warm up the spine now with some cat and cows, and we're going to do this a little bit different than on hands and knees. Sometimes it's nice to do this from a seated position as well. So first, creating that space through the front of the body so that we're completely long. The top of our head pulls up towards the sky. The crown of our head is stacked above our shoulders, just stacked above our hips. Take a deep breath in. Engage the abdominals. And on your next inhale, go ahead and shrug your shoulders back. So your shoulder blades are pulling back towards one another as you look up. On the exhale, switch positions. So we're rounding the back now. Shoulders hunch forward. We're pulling the spine backward and the navel towards the spine. Drop the head forward. Notice the change. Inhale.
This is our cow pose, our seated cow pose. So the elbows pull back, shoulder blades follow, making sure that our collarbone is pulled down away from our ears.
And exhale, send the hands forward, extend the arms, shrug the shoulders, pull the belly back, and tuck your chin. A few more at the pace of your breath. Inhaling, expanding through the chest, and exhaling, rounding, contracting through the belly. Just starting to warm things up here. Just finding a neutral seated position again. Great, so we are going to come now onto all fours into our tabletop. So in tabletop position, we are going to have our hands beneath our shoulders, knees are hips distance, feet are the same distance, so there's the same amount of space between our hands, knees, and feet. So there's a tendency here to lock the elbows, and we don't want to do that. When we lock the elbows, that means that we have bone on bone. So in order to prevent that and to keep ourselves safe and comfortable, we want to have a micro bend. So what that means is that maybe we, with our hands still shoulders distance apart, we widen our elbows and then we pull them back so that the pointy part of our elbow is pointed back towards our feet. So micro bend there. Go ahead and engage your abdominals again, pulling the navel up towards the spine. Inhale deeply and exhale. So now we are going to take some leg extensions here. So pressing firmly into the mat, go ahead and without moving your pelvis, try not to move your pelvis, extend your left foot straight back. Exhale, lower it back down. So the pelvis here should scoop under. So that means like our tailbone will point down towards the ground. That'll help to keep our lower back in line with our entire spine. So a few more of these. Maybe your foot just comes back a little bit. That's fine. Moving to your breath. Trying to keep the main part of the body completely still. Notice which muscles are engaged here. One more here. Great. All right, go ahead, sit your hips back, maybe shake it out a little bit. We do some wrist twists. All right, so coming back to all fours in tabletop pose. Finding a neutral spine, so one long straight line between the crown of our head and our tailbone. Shoulders are pulled down away from the ears. Micro bend in the elbows. Find your breath if you've lost it. And let's start on the other side now. So taking the opposite foot back, remembering to keep the hips square towards the ground. Breathing. So trying to move slowly as if you're swimming through water. There's no jerky movements. Except for we can't breathe underwater, but I still want you to be breathing here. All right, two more. Notice if you go too fast, like I just did, my hips went all wacky. All right, great. So we can go ahead and sit our hips back now, swing our feet over in front of us. And we're going to take Dandasana, staff pose. So your knees can be as bent as they need to, as you like, or as what's comfortable, excuse me. And we want to, again, create that length through the upper body so that we have plenty of space through our abdomen to breathe and also to engage our core towards our spine. So pressing the hands into the mat, maybe your palms reach, maybe you need to tense your fingers up. Again, not locking the arms. Your legs can be straight if that's comfortable for you, but if it's not, that's okay too. So using your abdominal muscles, noticing, keeping the ribs knitted, hold in. And here we want to lift through the sternum. So that's that big bone in the center of our chest cavity. So imagining that it's being pulled up. So you might notice how your spine gets a little bit more spacious when you try to lift your sternum. A few more breaths here. All right, inhale, reach the arms up above your head. Exhale, seated forward fold. So let your head drop and be heavy. Maybe shake it no and yes. And if you'd like, if you have a strap, you can use that. But we really want the muscles to be soft right now, just for a moment, because we're going to check in. We're going to scan our entire bodies right now. Just noticing what's shifted, if anything. Noticing any sensations, any tightness, any soreness. And then sending a breath, a fresh breath to those spaces. All right, so we're going to come up now. We're going to come up to a standing position. So standing up at the top of your mat here in mountain pose. So feet are about hips distance apart. Go ahead, rock from heel to toe, heel to toe. So one way that we can measure what's hips distance is that we can bring our fists together like this and measure this way. So if you really want to be exact about it, that should be about hips distance for you. So what we're going to do is come to mountain pose at hips distance, and again create length through the top of the body. The crown of the head lifts, lower abdomen engages, shoulders relax down away from the ears, and palms maybe face forward. On an inhale, we're going to reach the hands up and interlace the fingers. Index finger can stay pointed. I'm going to keep my arms bent for this one. All right, so we're going to extend nice and tall, and then we're going to take a lateral bend. So we're going to bend over to the right side here. So trying to keep your body in one plane. So imagining that there's two panes of glass, one in front of you and one right behind you. So keeping the left shoulder pulled back, keeping the hips square. Notice your breath. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, opposite side. Extend the arms. 3 full breaths. Inhale back up through center. Exhale, go ahead and drop it forward. So nice and big bend in the knees here. Let your arms hang. If you need to grab opposite elbows, that's cool. Maybe just swing from side to side like a monkey here. Notice what it feels like to be upside down. Staying engaged with the breath. All right, so now we're going to bend the knees down all the way up to a maximum of 90 degrees. So looking down at our toes, we don't want to sit too deep, but we don't want to be sitting in a bar stool either. So go ahead, sit in a chair and extend the arms straight up. Gaze towards your fingertips. Pull the navel towards the spine. 3 breaths. Try to focus your eyes on one place that's still and not moving. All right, next inhale, go ahead, stand up to mountain pose. So now we're going to bring our hands together in front of our heart. We're going to sit down again, and we're going to twist to the left. So bringing our right elbow to the right knee for chair twist. So working to bring the hands, try to open your chest so that it comes to the middle of your chest. That's what the goal is eventually. If you're only here, that's cool too. So, and if this feels really far or way too deep for you, you can also just bring your elbow down to your right knee. But notice all the muscles that fire up. One more deep breath here. Inhale, mountain pose. Whew, I'm already warming up. All right, so hands back to center. If you aren't comfortable making a prayer hands, you can also just interlace your fingers. All right. Sitting the hips down to chair. Maybe we come into it a little bit different this time, starting from chair pose, and then bringing hands to heart center, interlacing if that's right for you, and then hooking the left elbow. So twisting from the lower belly, trying to keep the hips squared or level. Maybe your gaze, your chin even turns up towards the ceiling. Breathe deeply. All right, inhale, come back through chair and mountain pose. All right, so let's stretch that out. We're gonna take a nice counter pose now. You can bring your arms out to a T, so stepping the feet apart nice and wide, coming to star pose. And then bringing the hands to the hips. Shoulders are still broad, chest is high, nice proud position. On an exhale, lifting the kneecaps to engage the quadriceps, begin to fold forward at your hips. Again, if you want to use your blocks, and you can bring your hands down onto the ground as well. So once you've found a comfortable position, maybe you need to bring your feet further apart. Actually, if it feels too tight, bring it further apart. So the closer your feet are together, the more challenging the pose is. I'm really caught up on my words today. So noticing if your hips are extended past beyond your heels. So we want to keep our hips over our feet. That means having balance equally between our heels and our toes. Remember to keep the core engaged here. Head is heavy. And our legs, our muscles are definitely on right now. This is more than just a stretch. So we're actively working to pull or point our tailbone up towards the sky. This helps us to tilt our pelvis and really get into the hamstrings and hip flexors. One more deep full breath here. All right. So bending the knees now generously and bringing the left hand over to the right foot. Inhale, reach the right arm up towards the sky. If you'd like to try to straighten the legs, you can. One more deep full breath. ahead, switch sides. Slowly, gently bring yourself back through center, bending the knees. I'll show you this time with a block. So finding a distance of the twist, how deep you can take it, that's comfortable, that's right for your body. Always listening to your body. If there's a version that I haven't shown you that feels better, go ahead and do it. So there's no way that you can fail at this practice. The only failing is failing to practice. All right, go ahead, lower both hands down. We're going to pivot our feet to the right. So we came from our wide angled forward fold. So our feet are nice and broad. So again, pivoting our feet to the right. So now our toes are both pointed in the same direction. Again, bending the knees as much as needed. And we're going to bring the feet out towards the sides of our mat so that instead of being in one line, they're going to be more like train tracks. All right. So now coming up, bringing the hands to the hips, working to square the hips towards the front of the mat. So you might need to adjust your feet or play around with this a little bit. From here, hinging forward at the hips, coming to pyramid pose. If you'd like to use your blocks, you can bring one to either side of your front foot. If you'd like to take it deeper, you can work to bring your hands in reverse prayer. Breathe deeply. Remember that soft ujjayi pranayama. Use it to help you lengthen your inhales and exhales. Next, inhale, come back up through standing and turn back through center. All right, we're going to try that on the other side now. So turning the toes to the left side, taking the feet apart so that the outer edges of our feet are closer to the outer edges of our mat, like train tracks. Hands to hips, square the hips, look forward, deep breath in, create length and space through the spine. Exhale, hinge forward, bringing the heart towards the knee, and then releasing the head. Make any adjustments needed for pyramid pose. So again, you might want to play around with the setup of your feet. Notice the sensation through your left hamstrings, the back of the knee. If you have a knee injury, in this pose and really in any pose, always try to keep a micro bend. So even if you ever see a teacher that's got straight legs or someone practicing next to you that's got locked knees, that doesn't mean that you need to have locked knees. So engaging the quads, lifting the kneecap, it'll visually lift. That will keep our knees protected and keep a micro bend. All right. So from here, we're going to actually bend our knees and we're going to step our right knee back so that our left foot is forward. Now we're going to come up. Inhale, circle the arms up above your head. Exhale, relax the shoulder blades down your back. So if you'd like, you can bring your arms to more of like a cactus shape or goalpost so that our heart is expanding and lifting. Again, the sternum lifts. Go ahead and look up. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, lunge it forward this time, bringing the hands down to the ground. So if you'd like here, You can bring the hands up. You can always use blocks as well. If you're looking for more of a challenge, take the toes beneath the heel and lift the knee. This is crescent pose. Hands lower down, knee drops if you're up, and we're just going to swing the right foot directly behind the knee, pivot the left heel out so that the toes point forward, reach the right hand to the outside of the right knee, inhale, swim the left arm over your ear. One long straight line between the tip of your middle left finger and the outside edge of your left foot. Breathe deeply here. One more deep full breath. Keep the hips pulling forward. Exhale, lower the left hand down, lift the torso. We'll take it to the opposite side. Left hand slides down towards the foot as the right arm reaches up, gaze up. If you need your block for a little extra stability, keeping the lower belly pulled towards the spine, pelvis scoops under to keep our lower back protected. Exhale, lower it back down. And we're going to go ahead and just switch sides here. So now turning to the opposite side, the right side. I kind of did this backwards. I'm sorry, that was confusing. So coming to our version of our kneeling lunge or crescent. So first, finding just a neutral, strong, stabilizing pose. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, goal post the arms, elbows to expand through the heart. Working to keep the right hip pulled back. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, lunge deeper into the pose. Find your version here of crescent, either kneeling crescent with the arms up. You can use the blocks. You can use the blocks also for full crescent, tucking the toes, lifting the hips. Whoop. Arms go up. Breathe deeply. If you fall out of it or lose your balance, that's okay. You have the ability to start again. One more full breath. Notice what you're feeling here. You're beginning to wobble or shake like me. All right, bring the hands down, lower onto the knee, swing the left foot back, and we're gonna come towards face the front. So our right heel pivots out. Plant the left hand down, swim the right arm over top. Create that long line here between the middle finger. And an inhale, maybe stretch and see just how far you can really reach. Exhale, try to find a compromise between that and keeping the shoulders and everything in line. Last breath here. Inhale, Arms come up. Exhale to the opposite side. Use your block. Keeping the lower belly engaged. One more breath. Inhale up. Exhale. We're gonna twist and come down to a seated position. And to take a twist. So what we're gonna do now is from seated, I'll actually turn this way. We're going to bring our right foot and either bring it to, this is option one, is just pointing the right knee up and bringing the inside of your right ankle to your left shin. That's option one. Option two is bringing it right in front of the knee. Remember, we want to keep our upper body aligned and spacious. So if you can't maintain an upright position, that means we need to come back to step one. Step three is bringing the right heel over the left thigh. Arms come down to either side. Belly engages. Inhale, reach the left arm up. Exhale. Lay it over your right knee. So coming to a twist. Maybe your elbow just comes on top of your knee and we look to the right. So finding the version of the twist that works for you today. Take it deeper. You might want to straighten the arm, try to reach for the floor, and use your elbow as a lever here. So these twists are detoxifying. They cleanse our organs by literally massaging them like a sponge and wringing them out. Very important. Inhale, release the twist. Bring your soles of your feet together for just a little bit of a counter pose into butterfly, bound angle. So keeping the belly nice and long. If you'd like, you can lean into it a bit. Open up the hips. And then we'll switch to the other side. So from seated pose, we're going to tuck the right heel towards our left hip. Left foot either comes to the right shin, in front of the right knee, or crosses over. Arms come down towards the floor, tent the fingers, find length. Reach through the crown of your head. Engage your breath. Maybe this is enough, but if you'd like to come with me, you can take the twist by inhaling your right arm and then either bringing your right elbow onto the left knee or over the thigh. Left hand stays planted behind you. Again, to take it deeper, try to straighten the arm and use your arm, your bones, as a lever to take the twist deeper. Finally, look over your back shoulder. Notice how hard it is to breathe when you're really twisting deep. This forces our lungs to expand in places they're not used to. So notice how this forces you to breathe through the back ribs. That results in increased lung capacity, which is It's pretty cool, actually. All right, deepest breath. Really spread those ribs apart. All right, and we'll release it. Come back through center. We're going to come up onto our knees for our final upright pose. We're going to come to a camel pose. So bring the shins parallel, toes point away. You can use your blocks at about ankles distance, like just outside of the ankles. And then we'll take it on to the right side first. Bring the right hand back to your block. Reach the left arm up. If it's available to you, you can try lowering the hand down to the top of the heel. So keeping the back body engaged, hips pulled forward. One more full breath. Exhale, sit the hips back, bringing your arms in front of you, and take child's pose. This is just a rest for a moment. Let your forehead come towards the ground. Let your belly fall between your thighs. Arms extend straight away from your body. Notice your breath. And on an inhale, we're going to come into half cam on the other side a little bit different. We're going to swim the left arm around to our left heel. And then from there, we're going to inhale, shoot the hips forward, arch the back, extend the right arm. Again, taking the block if it's needed. Lift through the sternum and chest, open your heart. Breathe. Last breath. Exhale. Bring the hips down. Come to child's pose. So bring your toes together to kiss. Knees come apart towards the outside edges of your mat. Hands come down between them. Walk them forward. So you can use a block here or a pillow if you're have a lot of space between your head and the mat. You can also cross your forearms in front of you. Just breathe. All right, and then we're going to come all the way down onto our belly. Legs extend straight away. Toes are pointed. So just feel your pelvis press into the mat. Lower belly is on the mat as well. So just let gravity do its work here. Maybe look to the right side and the left. And then we're going to come all the way down to our final resting pose in Shavasana. So if you'd like, you can come and you can actually stay on your belly like this. Or if you'd like to take the traditional corpse pose, flip over onto your back. And then bringing your knees to your chest a little bit. So we do this before we go into Shavasana to make sure that our lower back is in contact with the mat. So we want to keep our lower back flat. So that's why we bend the knees. And then we send one foot out to the corner, the other Let the toes fall away from each other. The back of your head rest on the mat. Then your arms can extend out to the sides to a T. They can come above your head or they can rest on your belly. Just finding the most natural and open position that you are comfortable to be in right now. Notice if you're fidgeting, wiggling your toes. That's my thing. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out through the mouth. Let your entire body just melt into the ground. You can allow your breath to return to its natural pace, so lose that ujjayi breathing. Lose the inhalation and exhalation extensions. Just breathe normally, softly. Let your entire body be soft. If you're having a hard time doing that, sometimes I find it helpful to tense and then release my muscles. So for example, fidgeting fingers on an inhalation will make a fist, engage the muscles in the arm. Keep them engaged, keep the elbows lifted for a few seconds. Remember to keep breathing. Then after maybe 5 or 10 seconds, exhale as you release them completely. Let your body just drop to the earth. Notice that sensation, that kind of buzzing feeling after your muscles have been worked like that. Let's do the same thing with our legs. So curling the toes, flexing the heel, lifting the kneecaps, and engaging your butt. Hold. Maybe your legs and hips even come off the ground a little bit. Remember to breathe. 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Become soft. Okay, we're going to do one more round of that. This time, we're going to engage our core, our shoulders, and all the muscles in our head. So to do this, we'll take a deep breath in, pull the belly down towards the spine, that abdominal engagement that we used in practice, but this time even more. Knit the ribs, shrug the shoulders up to the ears, tuck the chin to the collarbone, and squint your eyes, scrunch your nose, and smile really big. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. That was really hard. I felt like my entire body had to engage in order to do that. All right, so hopefully you're able to settle in a little bit better now. I know I am. So you're welcome to stay here for as long as you'd like. This is where I'm going to leave you. Make sure you spend at least 2 or 3 minutes in Shavasana. And when you do come out, be sure to take your time. Be easy on your body and your mind. Thanks.